Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, we follow Jack as he takes one of the biggest steps of his life, officially opening his own company. But this journey isn't his alone. Standing beside him is Tu Tien, not just as his partner in life, but as a shareholder who believes deeply in his vision. As a major opportunity with Min Hung Group appears, excitement quickly mixes with pressure. This isn't just a story about business growth. It's about trust, shared responsibility, and building a future together from the ground up. Stay until the end to see how Jack and Tu Tien navigate ambition, uncertainty, and love in this crucial turning point. And don't forget to subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Your support truly means the world to us. Winter twilight settles quickly over the quiet countryside, and Jack stands in the yard, watching the last strip of orange light fade behind the trees. The air is sharp, cold enough to sting his fingers, but his mind is even more restless than his body. Today isn't just another day. It's the day everything officially begins. After months of planning, paperwork, and sleepless nights, Jack has finally opened his own company. The registration documents were approved that morning. The company seal still smelling faintly of fresh ink. It feels unreal, like a dream that could vanish if he doesn't hold on to it tightly enough. He glances at his phone again. No new messages. Tu Tien still hasn't come home yet. Jack exhales slowly and turns back toward the small outdoor cooking area he set up near the house. The stoves are new. One sturdy, heavy one that stays in place, and another portable one he can move around. He bought them without much hesitation, knowing Tu Tien loves cooking outdoors, especially during winter. She always says food tastes better when it's made over real fire, under the open sky, with cold air on your cheeks. As he starts preparing dinner, his thoughts drift back to the morning. Sitting in a cramped office downtown, signing document after document, his hand trembling slightly as he wrote his name. Founder, director, titles that still feel strange. But what matters most to him isn't his own name printed on paper. It's the second name listed under shareholders, Tu Tien. From the beginning, Jack never wanted to do this alone. When he first talked about opening the company, she listened quietly, asking simple but thoughtful questions. How much capital would it need? What kind of projects would the company focus on? Who would they be working with? She didn't pretend to understand everything, but she believed in him. And in the end, she insisted on becoming a shareholder, investing her savings and standing beside him, not just as his partner in life, but as his partner in business. The fish sizzles softly as Jack lays it on the grill. He carefully brushes on the marinade, the familiar smell rising with the smoke. Spring rolls are lined up neatly on a tray, ready to fry. Cooking usually calms him, but tonight, his chest feels tight. He checks the path leading back to the house again, half expecting to see Tu Tien's silhouette appear out of the darkness. Why is she so late today? He mutters under his breath. Just as he reaches for his phone again, it rings in his hand. The sudden sound makes him flinch. Jack speaking? The voice on the other end belongs to an employee he recently hired, someone recommended by an old friend. The man sounds excited, almost breathless. He talks about a potential partnership, a large-scale project proposed by Min Hung Group, bigger than anything Jack has worked on before. Several times larger, in fact. The kind of project that could push his young company into an entirely new level, or crush it if handled carelessly. They agree to meet the next morning at 8. Jack thanks him, ends the call, and stands there staring at the dark screen of his phone. This is it, he thinks. The opportunity he's been waiting for. But excitement quickly mixes with worry. A project like that would require serious capital. Even with current shareholders, including Tu Tien, the pressure would be immense. He knows he'll have to discuss it with her first. Every major decision must be shared. That was their agreement from day one. The fire crackles, sparks flying up into the cold night. Jack adjusts the stove, but his eyes keep drifting back toward the road. He calls Tu Tien. No answer. He tries again. Still nothing. The food is almost ready by the time he hears footsteps. Tu Tien appears at the edge of the yard, her shoulders slightly hunched, a basket of unsold bananas hanging from her arm. Her face looks tired, but when she sees the warm glow of the fire and Jack standing there, she smiles instinctively. "You're back," Jack says, relief washing over him as he walks toward her. "I was starting to worry." "Sorry, it got late," she replies softly. "The bananas ripened faster than I expected today. I stayed longer to sell." He takes the basket from her and sets it aside. "Go put your things away and take a shower. Dinner's almost ready." Tu Tien's eyes land on the new stoves, curiosity lighting up her tired expression. "When did you buy these?" Jack chuckles. "This afternoon. I knew you'd like them. Winter cooking. Outdoors. Just the way you love it." She smiles wider, a genuine, warm smile that eases something tight inside his chest. After she showers and changes, they sit together by the fire, tending to the food side by side. Jack fries the spring rolls while Tu Tien helps turn the fish, adding charcoal, adjusting the flame with practiced hands. As they work, she talks about her day, how the bananas sold for 20,000 dong per bunch because they ripened beautifully, how some customers promised to come back next week. Jack listens, nodding, appreciating these simple details of her world. Then it's his turn. "I got a call today," he says carefully, "from the company." Tu Tien looks up at him immediately. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay," Jack replies. "There's a potential project, a big one. Min Hung Group." Her eyes widen slightly. "That sounds huge." "It is," he admits. "It could change everything for us, for the company. But it also means we'll need a lot more capital. I didn't want to decide anything before talking to you." Tu Tien doesn't hesitate. She sets down the tongs and meets his gaze. "We'll talk it through. I'm a shareholder too, remember?" He smiles at that, warmth spreading through him. "I know. That's why I need your opinion." They move the stove a little closer, the flames dancing between them. The smell of grilled fish fills the air, comforting and familiar, yet Jack can't shake the feeling that something is off. Tu Tien seems quieter than usual, her movements slightly stiff, her smile appearing and disappearing too quickly. "You sure you're okay?" he asks gently. She nods, a little too fast. "I'm just tired. It's been a long day." Jack studies her face, but decides not to push further, for now. They sit down to eat, sharing food, sharing warmth, talking about the future, about the company, about how strange it feels to see their names listed together on official documents, about building something that belongs to both of them. The night grows colder, but the fire burns steadily. In its flickering light, ambition and affection intertwine quietly. A new company has been born, with shared ownership and shared dreams. But beneath the warmth, unspoken worries linger, waiting for the right moment to surface. Morning arrives with a pale winter sun, thin and cautious, as if it, too, is unsure about the day ahead. Jack is already awake, dressed neatly in a dark jacket, documents tucked carefully into his bag. The quiet house feels different this morning, charged with anticipation. Today isn't just another meeting. It's the first real test of his company. Tu Tien pours him a cup of hot tea, setting it on the table. "Drink a little before you go," she says. Jack checks the time and shakes his head with a small smile. "I'll grab something on the way. Don't want to be late." She nods, hiding her disappointment, and walks him to the door. "Good luck today. I hope the meeting goes smoothly." He pauses, looking back at her. "Whatever happens, we'll decide together. Remember that." Tu Tien smiles. "I know. I'm your shareholder after all." Her words lighten his mood, and with one last look, Jack steps out into the cold morning. The office building where the meeting takes place isn't large or flashy, but it's clean and professional. Jack arrives early, taking a moment to steady his breathing before heading inside. When representatives from Min Hung Group enter the room, the atmosphere shifts immediately. Their confidence is obvious, their questions sharp and direct. They talk numbers, scale, timelines, expansion plans. Jack listens carefully, answering where he can, taking notes when he needs to. As the discussion deepens, the weight of responsibility presses down on him. This project could multiply the company's value, but it could also drain every resource they have if they miscalculate. At one point, the lead representative leans back in his chair and says calmly, "We prefer working with companies that have strong internal alignment, clear ownership, clear decision-making." Jack doesn't hesitate. "Our shareholders are fully aligned. Major decisions are discussed openly. We're building this company together." The meeting ends with cautious optimism. No contract yet, but a draft proposal is promised within the week. As Jack steps outside, cold air filling his lungs, his phone buzzes almost immediately. It's Tu Tien. "Well?" she asks, before he can even say hello. Jack laughs softly. "You don't waste time, do you?" "I'm nervous," she admits. "Tell me everything." He walks slowly down the sidewalk as he talks, explaining the scope of the project, the potential profits, and the risks. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. When he finishes, there's a brief silence on the line. "That's bigger than I imagine," Tu Tien finally says. "Yeah," Jack agrees. "It's a lot to take in." "I trust you," she says quietly, "and I trust us, but we need to be careful." Her words ground him more than any business advice ever could. That's exactly what I was thinking. Back home, Tu Tien spends the rest of the morning reviewing the company documents Jack left behind. She doesn't understand every technical detail, but she reads carefully, marking sections she wants to ask about later. Being a shareholder isn't just a title to her, it's a responsibility. She wants to deserve the trust Jack placed in her. In the afternoon, Jack returns, exhaustion written all over his face. Tu Tien is waiting with a simple meal and a stack of notes beside her. "You've been studying?" he asks, surprised. She nods. "I might not know everything, but I want to understand enough to make good decisions with you." They sit together at the table, going through the documents one by one. Jack explains cash flow projections, operational costs, and potential investor strategies. Tu Tien listens, asking thoughtful questions that force him to slow down and think more clearly. "What happens if the project is delayed?" she asks at one point. Jack pauses. "Then we'll need a buffer. Either reduce expenses or find temporary funding. And if it succeeds faster than expected," he smiles, "then we'll be very busy." The conversation stretches into the evening. There's no dramatic tension, no raised voices, just two people trying to build something solid together. For the first time since opening the company, Jack feels a strange sense of calm. Not because the risks are gone, but because he's not facing them alone. Later that night, they step outside again, standing in the yard where the new stoves sit quietly unused. The sky is clear, stars sharp against the darkness. "Do you regret it?" Jack asks suddenly. "Becoming a shareholder, I mean." Tu Tien turns to him, surprised. "Why would I?" "It's pressure," he says honestly. "If things go wrong." She interrupts him gently. "Then we handle it together. I didn't invest because I expect guaranteed success. I invested because I believe in you and in what we're building." Her words settle deep in his chest. Over the next few days, life falls into a new rhythm. Jack spends long hours at the office, refining proposals and preparing for negotiations. Tu Tien manages her own work, but also keeps improving her understanding of the company, occasionally surprising Jack with suggestions he hadn't considered. When the draft contract from Min Hung Group finally arrives, they review it line by line late into the night. Some terms are promising, others are concerning. They debate, compromise, and adjust, learning how to disagree without breaking trust. "This clause puts too much pressure on us early on," Tu Tien points out. Jack nods slowly. "You're right. We should push back on that." For the first time, Jack truly sees Tu Tien not just as emotional support, but as a strategic partner. Her perspective is cautious but practical, balancing his ambition with realism. A week later, Jack sends the revised proposal back. Now, all they can do is wait. The waiting is harder than he expected. Every phone notification makes his heart jump. Every quiet evening feels longer than the last. But through it all, Tu Tien remains steady, reminding him that regardless of the outcome, they've already taken a huge step forward. One evening, as they sit together reviewing household expenses, Jack suddenly laughs. "What?" Tu Tien asks. "I was just thinking," he says, shaking his head. "A year ago, I was worried about getting by. Now, I'm negotiating contracts worth more than I ever imagined, with you as my shareholder." She smiles softly. "Life changes fast." "It does," he agrees, "but some things stay the same." She reaches for his hand. "Like us." When the final confirmation call comes days later, Jack puts the phone on speaker. Min Hung Group agrees to move forward, starting with a smaller phase, testing collaboration before full expansion. Jack exhales deeply, relief flooding his system. He looks at Tu Tien, eyes shining. "We did it," he says. She squeezes his hand. This is just the beginning. Outside, winter night settles once more, quiet and cold. But inside the house, warmth fills every corner, not just from the heater or the shared meals, but from a partnership built on trust, shared risk, and a future they are shaping together, step by careful step.